Anything too hard for Jesus? If the God I serve couldn't heal me mentally, physically, emotionally, calm the raging storms of my life, in my mind, in my body, all these demonic spirits coming against me, then He would be powerless. I'd be finding me another God who would have power, and He also had a name. Some people don't even know the name of the God they serve. There's a million gods in the world, but what is your God's name? In 1 Kings 18:24, and call ye on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord, and the God that answers by fire, let Him be God. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. Jesus, who has all power in heaven and in earth, He can take an impossibility in the human realm and make it possible. There's no human possibly way in the human realm, in the natural, that He could possibly, He could take the impossibility and make it possible. That there's no way that it could be possibly done. No way. Because He's the great divine arranger, mending all the broken pieces. No matter how many pieces it's been broken into, no matter how tiny the pieces are, the pieces of your heart and your life, putting all the broken pieces gently back together, one little piece at a time, one little bite at a time, one piece, one word at a time, one blessing at a time, one touch at a time, a little at a time. You grow. He puts you back together. It don't matter how shattered and broken that vessel is. I also have found that this same Jesus, when you look death in the face, like the 3 Hebrew children in the Bible did, when they faced death, refusing to bow and compromise, calling 911, turning to the arm of the flesh, compromising, bowing to man-made doctrines and false doctrines, offering them a better way, God made them an effective witness and could really preach, by His stripes we are healed, plus a whole lot more, and prove to them that there is no God but one, and His name is Jesus. That's what God wanted them to do, is prove His power and glorify His name above all the gods of the world. And He still does us today. Now they are living proof. Instead of just preaching, talking, witnessing, shouting about their God, telling everybody what He can do and how they would never deny His name, shout, sing, sing. Nor will they bend nor bow to no other God or doctrine. They hark all night on their doctrine, and they preach and shout and sing. Now they've proved it. Okay, the 3 Hebrew children, now they've proved it by being thrown in the furnace of fire. Now they were living proof. Now they was living proof. They had eyewitnesses. Their testimony was now credible, believable, after being living proof themselves. When preachers preach about what happened to the men of old in the Bible, it only excites the people instead of delivering them. If they've not been tried themselves and living proof of His great power and glory, that He alone is God and there is no other God but Him, the Word will eventually try you before you can really deliver God's people, because He has to make you steadfast, unmovable, so you won't panic, tremble, and run when the battle gets really rough and scary and hard, causing your flesh to surrender to the enemy, turning to the arm of the flesh for help and call 911, because no human, wants to die. Saul in the Bible panicked and obeyed the people instead of waiting on the prophet Samuel like he was supposed to do. Their life was on the line and they were scared. Those who have not been tested, tried, and proven are still novices, even if they've been preaching 20 years, and most likely would leave the helpless sheep to defend for themselves when faced with demonic spirits and run for their life. Remember Peter when he denied Christ 3 times when it came to his own life, showing no one can, but it's Christ in us, not us. After Pentecost, Peter was different. It was Christ in Peter, not Peter. Flesh can't do it, no matter how hard you try, when it comes to your life. Therefore, God gets all the praise and the glory. He must bring you back to the edge of the lion's den over and over until you can learn to trust Him. Live or die and not run. I'm talking about all of us. I know He can, O King, but if He don't, we will die before we compromise by bowing to your gods. God is wanting to show His glory, His power, and be magnified above all the gods, above everything. God wants to show everybody and magnify His greatness. But He can't find many who are willing to go to death's door like the Hebrew children. Daniel in the lion's den, they panic and call 911. So back on the potter's wheel they go. I've been on the potter's wheel going around and around and around until God got me to where He wanted me, to where that He can take me to the lion's den and prove to me that He would not forsake me. We must pass and go through all God's tests and trials, His training, just like in the army. Or eventually, if we don't become willing to obey God fully by surrendering our will for His will, then we'll be thrown on the reject pile. We will become only a dead, powerless preacher leading God's people around and around in the wilderness. In Matthew 7, verse 21, not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. By denying our will daily and surrendering to His will continually every day. Verse 22, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in Thy name? And in Thy name have cast out devils? And in Thy name done many wonderful works? But yet I don't fully go all the way, because I draw back just a little bit. I won't totally surrender my will. I will surrender my will 99.5%, but there's something there that I don't want to give up, so I just keep drawing back and holding to that one little thing, and that won't work. In verse 24, no, verse 23, and then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. That little bit that you're holding on to is iniquity, and you will never know Him fully. You will never become one with Him until you become willing to give up that one little thing you're holding on to. And verse 24, therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rains descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock, 100% on that rock. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes.